Welcome back, folks. Chris in Central Pennsylvania with some input and analysis on a recent bill introduced a few weeks ago in the House of Representatives. Kudos to Ronaldo Ghoz from South Africa for breaking this story, which has been ignored by the mainstream media, and frankly, one that I missed, busy paying attention to the big, beautiful bill, the Iran attack and other things. But another bill has been introduced in the House of Representatives to sanction South Africa. This is now 3 bills focused on South Africa introduced just in the past few months. The pressure is mounting on South Africa. The officials are whistling past the cemetery in Pretoria and Cape Town as the hammer is about to come down on South Africa. Now, having said that, let's do a little bit of analysis here. What bill are we talking about? House Resolution 4051, introduced by Greg Stube of Florida, to address hostile and anti-Semitic conduct by the Republic of South Africa. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, this act may be cited as the Addressing Hostile and Anti-Semitic Conduct by the Republic of South Africa Act of 2025. Congress finds the government of the Republic of South Africa has in recent years engaged in repeated diplomatic and legal actions targeting the State of Israel and Jewish communities under the guise of international law. These actions include the misuse of international legal institutions to advance politically motivated anti-Semitic narratives inconsistent with the objective of human rights norms. The government of South Africa has increasingly aligned itself with authoritarian regimes and global actors hostile to the United States' national interest and democratic values. United States taxpayer dollars must not be used to subsidize governments that engage in or legitimize such conduct. It's the policy of the United States to oppose anti-Semitic actions and rhetoric in any international forum, hold foreign governments accountable for abuse of international institutions for political targeting, and respond proportionally to governments that engage in hostility towards the United States allies and international stability. Well, that's what the act says. As I said, it's House Resolution 4051. It was introduced by Greg Stube of Florida, and it is sponsored by Representative Robert Whitman of Virginia's 1st District, both Republicans. It's clear that members of Congress are hurtful with the bigotry, racism of the government of South Africa, which has gotten away with this for decades while everyone looked the other way. The abuse of the International Court of Justice and the cozy relationship with state sponsor of terrorism, Tehran, who backs the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, and the murder of innocent civilians, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Their support for Cuba, their support for Moscow and Beijing, Venezuela. These are regimes who do not believe in democratic values. And South Africa purports to believe in such things, but it backs dictators and terror sponsors all over the world and seems to think that they can get away with this. Well, Trump has sent a clear message. Members of Congress are also trying to send a clear message. At his House website, Representative Stube, who introduced the bill, gave some background. He said the government of South Africa has aligned itself with the enemies of the United States, including Iran and the terrorist organization Hamas. Only 10 days after the 7 October attacks, South Africa's foreign minister, now Lady Pandor, expressed support for Hamas in a phone call with representatives of the terrorist organization. This horrific, idiotic decision by South Africa's government to endorse the murder of innocent civilians by making a congratulatory phone call to Hamas has gone unpunished since October of 2023. Congress is now paying attention. 2 months after the 7 October attacks, Hamas sent a senior delegation to South Africa for the 5th Global Convention of Solidarity with Palestine. Shortly after that, the ruling African National Congress welcomed representatives of Hamas for formal meetings in Joburg. In 2023, Iran and South Africa signed a cooperation agreement expanding economic ties between the two nations, including the development of 5 oil refineries in South Africa by the Iranian Oil Ministry. Of course, no action has been taken in South Africa for those oil refineries. But South Africa and Iran's cozy relationship was definitely mentioned by President Trump in his 7 February executive order, in which he also created refugee status for South Africans suffering unjust racial discrimination. While the government of South Africa has used lawfare to accuse the State of Israel of genocide before the International Court of Justice, has repeatedly turned a blind eye to the atrocities committed by Hamas and Iran against Israel and the United States, as well as not joining, as a friend of the court, the case against Myanmar for genocide, not filing a case against China for genocide against the Uyghurs. The hypocrisy of the South African government is manifest and manifold. By suspending direct assistance to the government of South Africa, which has already happened, so this seems superfluous, and imposing targeted sanctions on its political leadership, the Addressing Hostile and Anti-Semitic Conduct by the Republic of South Africa Act of 2025 would help codify provisions of President Trump's executive order addressing egregious actions. And that's the bottom line here. It's superfluous. So what does this all mean, folks? What does it mean? Well, it's bad news for the government of South Africa. And the fact that not a single media outlet in South Africa has covered this, it took a YouTube content creator and former member of parliament, Ronaldo Ghost, to break this story, tells you just how corrupt the media is in South Africa, or just how ignorant it is. And to be fair, I didn't catch this story either, so I can't just sit here and say that they're completely clueless. I've been a little bit busy, though. But they obviously have people who are paid to pay attention to these things, and that's their job. And they're not paying attention, or they're willfully ignoring it. You decide. So what does all this mean, folks? Well, what it means is that 3 bills have been introduced in the Congress this year. Bills run an average of about 5 to 7% actually become law. Like the current bill, the big, beautiful bill, will become law today when President Trump signs on the 4th of July, 2025, the 249th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence. That will become law, and it will become the budget for the next year, the next fiscal year, which begins 1 October. But only 5 to 7% of all bills introduced. There are currently 7,300 plus bills sitting in the House and Senate, to give you an idea of how much superfluous, unnecessarily, and attention-grabbing, attention-seeking legislation is introduced. So 3 bills for South Africa. One by former surgeon and personal physician for the president, Ronnie Jackson, now a member of Congress from Texas, who introduced a bill to sanction senior leaders of the ANC and the government for their actions contrary to U.S. national interest. That's a revision of the bill that was introduced in 2024 in a bipartisan fashion by Democrats and Republicans. That bill went nowhere because the Biden administration was never going to sign that, and the Democrats control the Senate. Well, Republicans control the Senate, and Republicans control the House and the White House now, but that bill is languishing and not making any progress going through committee. The second bill was by Troy Nehls, also of Texas, so-called Afrikaner Act, which was meant to create a program specifically only for white Afrikaners to come to the United States as refugees. A bit racist, honestly. There's no need for it, and also superfluous because the existing Immigration Nationality Act allows for refugees to come there, and they've been designated as potential refugees by the President of the United States under his executive authority, so the bill is unnecessary. That bill is also going nowhere, and I don't expect to see that bill ever even make it to the floor for a vote. Now this bill, because it talks about anti-Semitic activity and anti-Jewish and Jewish hate, I think this one may get some traction. There's a strong influence in the Congress from Jewish lobbies and those who support Israel. And I suspect this bill may get legs, and this could be disastrous for South Africa because this bill would result in leaders of the government being sanctioned, travel bans, financial bans, things like that. And it could lead to even further sanctions and harm to South Africa's economy. The time of arrogance should be over for the South African officials who act with impunity, support terrorists, and do it with no shame whatsoever. We have people during the Comrades Marathon, an event meant to bring camaraderie and unity to people. Israeli athletes, as athletes from all over the world, travel to South Africa for this 50-plus kilometer ultra marathon this year from Pietermaritzburg down to Durban. And what happens in this race? What happens? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we see Palestinian activists violating the safety. We see the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal doxing the Israeli runners so that they can be harassed and assaulted on the runner's course. Can you imagine running an ultra marathon, exhausted, your tendons stretched to the limit, your lungs burning, fatigue setting in, your constitution weakening, and some jackass runs out on the course and endangers your safety, nearly knocking you over, calling you names, and being a racist, bigot piece of human filth in your face. This is what happened to the Comrades. So these are the smaller things that aren't government actions, but entities affiliated with the ruling party, the African National Congress, its youth league in KwaZulu-Natal, is the organization that docks these people in violation of the Poppy Act, and not a single thing has happened to them, not even criminal charges. This is a sort of anti-Semitic, anti-Western attitude that's been prevalent in South Africa for a long time. Will something come of this? Don't get too excited. Congress can be a laborious beast. Things can take time. If the president wants it, then this bill will rise to the top, and Mike Johnson will get this in committee and get it on the floor. We'll see. Bills have a habit of lingering for a long time. This one may linger as well. But congratulations to Ronaldo Ghost for breaking this story and bringing it to my attention. I thought that was necessary to give it, from a political scientist's viewpoint, a little more in-depth analysis about what it really means. You know, South Africa has committed one own goal after another. Most recently, the Deputy Minister for DIRCO, the Director of International Relations Cooperation, went to the Iranian embassy to sign a book of condolence after the United States bombed Iran's nuclear facility. So what were the condolences for? The loss of nuclear facility and the inability to build a nuclear bomb and terrorize the world? No, it was for the claim that hundreds of civilians had died in the attacks, the Israeli attacks, which is poppycock. The Israeli surgically targeted strikes targeted infrastructure, military leaders, and nuclear scientists, not civilians. But then the ANC doesn't make such distinctions unless it suits their political needs. Hypocrisy, thy name is African National Congress. And the American Congress is coming for you. Are you ready? Well, there you go, folks. A little more analysis of what's actually happening. Cheers.